Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the D podcast. It's me, Nate Commerce, today, and we have a special episode today. And before we begin, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all the other platforms. And we are also in the works of going on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes. So we'll definitely update you guys on the lookout for that. But A Commerce, I think you can kick it off for the podcast today.
Yeah, so we'll just start off with we're about 10 days from the trade deadline now. And so one of the trades that recently happened was the Blazers decided to trade Norman Powell and Robert Covington to Clippers, and Portland receives back Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, and Keon Johnson. Some little facts about the trade. Norman Powell was averaging 18.7 points per game for the Blazers, which is a great year for him. The Clippers are currently 500, and they're eighth in the West after beating the Lakers, if I'm not right, about 2 days ago. And the Blazers are 21 and 32, somehow still 10th in the West with that record, but they're in a close race with both the Pelicans and the Spurs for, I guess, that 12th through 10th seed. And I guess my initial thoughts on the trade are, I think Portland's just trying to get rid of all their older players. I know they got back Eric Bledsoe, but they're probably not going to keep him after this year. I think Portland's just entering the rebuilding stage. They want people like Anthony Simons to take control of the team, maybe even ship out Damian Lillard in the summer. CJ McCollum, I think, is a dark horse to get traded before the trade deadline. And I think the Blazers are finally like the era of CJ and Dame is coming to a close. We don't really have anything left. So let's start to move our pieces and prepare for the future.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think obviously Norman Powell was playing so good. He's actually 28, so I mean he's like I guess in the middle of his career, I guess. But Robert Covington is old, so definitely I agree with you about the era of CJ and Damian. Um, so I think that I wouldn't be surprised if the Blazers go and they go through a rebuilding process, try to like revolve around one player, either Lillard or McCollum, or maybe it could be even somebody else, and just hopefully get a better roster back in over the next few years. Because even though they're 10th in the West, 21 and 32 is a terrible record. So I don't understand how they're still there, considering in the East, like the 10th seed, or not 10th seed, but 10th place, since it's not the playoffs yet. It's like between the Knicks and the Wizards, and they're only like one game below 500. And the Raptors or Hornets, like the Hornets are ninth, and they're like I think they're one game above 500. So it's definitely a trade to look out for. I think it's great for LA. Norman Powell, especially when Kawhi comes back, Powell can play with Kawhi. They can reunite just like they played together in Toronto, and then Paul George too. So I think the Clippers have a great future, and this season is obviously super tough with Kawhi being injured, with Paul George being injured. So it's definitely super exciting for the Clippers, especially next year. And then also having Reggie Jackson, who had an outstanding game against the Lakers. So yeah, I think that moving on, we can move on to the MVP ladder. So we have Joel Embiid. He's number one on the ladder after being number two last week, and he's averaging about 29 points per game and 11 rebounds on the season. And then our former number one, Nikola Jokic, he's number two now, but averaging a solid 26 points and 14 rebounds per game, which is really good. But something that I noticed in the ladder that was kind of like meh, I know I wasn't against it, but I was surprised by it, was that Chris Paul is number four. He's ahead of Steph Curry, John Morant, DeMar DeRozan. Morant and DeRozan are sixth and seventh on the ladder. So my question to you, Akram, is for Chris Paul, does he deserve to be like, that high? And also for Morant and DeRozan, should they be rated higher?
Okay, so to answer your first question, I don't think Chris Paul deserves to be that high. Like, I get the Phoenix Suns, yes, they're the one seed. They're the only team with 10 or less losses. But in the past few weeks, the Warriors right now are on an 8-game winning streak. And while Curry is still kind of inconsistent in his play, he's definitely doing better since we had our last podcast, right? He's dropped 29 against the Timberwolves. He's dropped 40 against the Rockets. He had a very efficient game in just under 33 minutes versus the Kings, where he dropped 20 on 7-11 shooting. He's shooting, I think, like 40% exactly from the field in his past, from some of the three, sorry, in his past 6 games. which is much better than the slump that he was in earlier. So I think, given that they're on such a hot streak right now, and Curry's getting back up there in terms of his shooting and his performance, I definitely think that he should be above Chris Paul, because Chris Paul's stats on the season still don't compare to Curry's at all. Right, Chris Paul is averaging 18 points per game on 47% from the field, 37 from three, very nice. But I mean, Curry's doing 26 on 42, which is less efficient, but he's shooting better from three. He's averaging more rebounds, less assists, obviously. But I think that Curry still deserves to be above him. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think the MVP ladder, I mean, I don't know if you're thinking this, but like the MVP ladder is like based on like the last week. I think Curry like and Chris Paul are really close in terms of the last week, because obviously the Suns had their, I think, like 11 game winning streak, and Chris Paul played really well. Then Devin Booker played super well. So, but then the Warriors, I didn't even know they had an 8 game winning streak until like this morning. So, it was definitely surprising. I the only team that I watch now are the Raptors. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but I mean,
but yeah.
what I just want to add one more point there about, like, so if we want to compare like the last, I guess, week's games, we'll do like since January 29th. Curry's dropped 19, 40, and 20 in the 3 games that he's played. Chris Paul has dropped 20, 18, and 14, and he's also had double-digit assists in 2 of those games. But I think it's really close, and I don't think you can move Chris Paul above Curry though.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chris Paul and Steph Curry have completely different games. I mean, Steph Curry, when you look at his stats, it's all about shooting 3 pointers. Obviously, he's the leader in 3 point field goals made now. But Chris Paul is like an all around. Like, he can shoot the ball pretty well. He's really good in passing. He's really high in the assists race. Obviously, they're both guards, so they're not high in the rebounding part of it. But it's definitely close. I mean, if you base it upon, I think I'm still trying to figure out like how, like, are they basing the MVP ladder on player stats, team stats? Because if it's team stats, it's like extremely close, because the Warriors are on a huge winning streak. The Suns were on a humongous winning streak, and then obviously they lost to Atlanta when Trae Young dropped like 45 on them. So that's kind of embarrassing. But it's definitely something that's in the talks right now. But I think obviously talking about the Atlanta Hawks, and we're talking about the Eastern Conference and all these good players, I think we can move on to the Toronto Raptors. So this is non-biased, but the Raptors are on a 5 game
We'll
winning
see.
streak. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The Raptors are on a 5 game winning streak. They have wins over the Heat and Hawks 2 times, and the Bulls. There was one time against the Hawks where Trae Young was not there. And obviously against the Bulls, Lonzo Ball was not there because of his injury. But Siakam has led the Raptors in points per game those last 5 games. But Gary Trent Jr. had a big stretch with 5 games with 30 plus points. I believe that ended in the 3rd game of their winning streak. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow, because they play Charlotte tomorrow, and I'm going to the game, fortunately. And after that, I looked at their schedule. They have a pretty easy schedule. They're playing the Timberwolves, the Magic. I saw a Nuggets game in there. That's not easy, but I mean, I think in my position, and I think I'll answer this question first, can they get in a high seed position in the next 10 games plus maybe? I mean, the Raptors, like, I mean, if you follow us on Instagram, you probably saw our post. I made that, obviously, but their defense has been one of the best in the league, in my opinion. Not like, I mean, actually in general too, but especially in the clutch moments. I mean, if you go look in their past 5 games, it's all the games are super close. I mean, they went in triple overtime against the Miami Heat, where all of their starters played like 52 plus minutes. Then against the Hawks, they won by like 6. Then they won by 10 against the Hawks, and they beat the Heat by like 4. So definitely all of their games have been super close. But from what I've seen, the Raptors have just been super, like, outstanding defensively. And honest, I give credit to a lot of players. Pascal Siakam stepping up. He's trying to show the world why he should have deserved that All-Star selection that he didn't get. Then Fred VanVleet's playing well, like shooting well and scoring about 20 something points in his last 3-4 games, but definitely happy that he got the All-Star selection that he deserved. OG Anunoby and Gary Trent have been really good defensively. And I have to give credit to their centers, Preston Achiuwa and Chris Boucher. They've definitely helped the team defensively. And Chris Boucher, and both of them can actually shoot the ball pretty well from 3-point from 3-point range, especially Chris Boucher. So I think the Raptors are a young team. I mean, they have they like their star players. They have Vliet Siakam. They got actually traded went undrafted, but in 2016. So it's like their 6th year in the league, 6-7 year. So definitely a great team. And to answer the question, I mean, the Raptors are 4 games behind the first seed right now. And if Brooklyn loses today against Denver, which I think they probably will, Toronto will go up to the 6th seed. And then they'll be really close to all the other teams. So the standings have shifted dramatically in the East. So you never know what could happen. I mean, Toronto was in a humongous war with Charlotte, and I guess they still are, but Charlotte's on a 4-game losing streak right now. And Charlotte's on a 5-game winning and Toronto's on a 5-game winning season. So I think they can definitely get to a high position. I wouldn't be surprised, but it's all about like during the season, how the other teams do, because you never know how their records can go.
Yeah, I agree with you though. I think the Raptors could easily get a higher seed. I think the Nets are probably gonna lose today. The Nets have just fallen apart completely with all their injuries, with KD being out, then Harden and Kyrie. Kyrie obviously being only there for half the game. But anyway, so the Raptors, going back to the Raptors, if we look at it, they have 23 losses right now, and the 3rd seed is only 2 games ahead of them. The Milwaukee Bucks have 21. Like the East is so tight right now. The Celtics are 8. They're 2 games behind the Raptors. But I mean, I think they could get at least the 5th seed.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the standings right now, you have the Nets, who look like Toronto will be able to pass them. I kind of did some math. So if the Nets lose, then they're 0.5 like 0.5 like 4-1, and the Raptors are 0.549. So they'll take the 6th seed. But the Sixers are 31-21. So if you look at the 5th, 4th, and 3rd seed, they do have only two less losses, but they have like 3, 4, 5 more wins. So the Bucks are 3.5 games ahead of Toronto right now. But for the 5th seed, it's pretty logical. They're 2.5 games ahead. So if let's say the Raptors win, the Sixers lose, then it's only like half a game. So I definitely believe that they can do that. And then if you look at the teams next to them, I mean, Boston, they're on a 4-game winning streak. They're 29-25. So they're doing amazing right now. They're playing Orlando today. And if they lose, that would be pretty embarrassing. So it looks like the Celtics would be able to go to the same record as the Raptors. It's just all about because the East is so close. The Hawks had a humongous winning streak. It got ended by the Raptors, but they're 25-27. The Hornets are 28-26 with a 4-game losing streak. I mean, playing great teams. They lost to the Heat by 16 last night, and we beat them. So I'm super confident about Monday. But I think on Monday we can be viewing a possible play-in tournament if the East is so tight that maybe both teams would still be in the play-in position. So definitely a highly anticipated like 7 and 8 seed matchup in the play-in. So I think that'd be super exciting. So yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I think it's going to be hard to really get the 3rd because you still have the Bucks and Cavs. They're both really good teams. Like they're
exactly.
It's unlikely that they're just going to lose 5 games in a row. But I think the Sixers, I think they have a good chance of passing them, just because the Sixers are playing the Bulls today. If the Sixers lose, obviously now they're only 1.5 games ahead. Raptors win, let's say tomorrow night. Then the Sixers play the Suns, and they also have to play the Cavs in their next 2 out of 3 games. So like those teams are both very, very good, if not better than the Sixers. If the Sixers drop those 3 games, I'm assuming they're going to beat the Thunder. Then the Raptors have a great chance.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, this is a really early prediction considering that the playoffs are in actually the playoffs are actually really close. They're like 2.5 months away. It doesn't seem close, but I guess it is close. But I think if you disagree, you can say why. But I think the Raptors have like a possibility if they do get that playoff spot and they play a good team, they can make like a second round and be really effective then. Because I've watched like probably like all of the Raptors games, but like 5 of them. But they've played against these good teams, like all the teams that are above them right now. Chicago, right? They're 1-1 against the Bulls this season. They had an impressive win against them the other night. Miami, Toronto is 2-1 against them this year. Milwaukee, Toronto swept Milwaukee this year, and Giannis was there. Yeah, and Giannis was there for 2 of those 3 games. There was one game where he wasn't there, so it was an easy win. But Van Vliet and Scotty Barnes weren't there when Giannis was there, and we still won. Cleveland, it was, I mean, those games against Cleveland are super tight. I mean, I believe we've played them 3 times, and we're 2-1 against them. But every single game has been decided by like 4 points or less, I think. So, and then the Sixers, obviously. So, I'm super.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because actually they've played once this season. They're playing twice later. But that one game was when the Cavs blew them out by 55.
Oh, really?
It was, remember when the Raptors were so injured with COVID and everything? They had like
Yeah.
Watanabe was starting and
Oh yeah,
and
I turned out the TV in the first quarter. Oh wait, I thought that they played one other time where the Cavs won by like 1.
yeah, that was in the preseason though. Oh no, that was November 5th actually. You're right, they did. That was November 5th. They won by 1 point, actually.
No, the Cavs did play, but listen, you look at the highlights page. They have YouTube Watanabe on the cover, so their starting lineup was YouTube Watanabe, DJ Wilson, Chris Boucher, Savim Mikolchuk, and Delonto Banton. So it's definitely Banton and Boucher are their really good bench players, but Watanabe, DJ Wilson, like I don't even know who that is. But Sweet Mikrochuk is he plays for the Raptors 905. And I think it's super smart, and not just about the Raptors, but overall in the whole NBA. Like putting the guys who don't play as much in the G League. Like I know about the Charlotte Hornets. James Bouknight, he was the 14th overall pick, but the Hornets have so many guards. They have Lamelo, they have Ish Smith, Terry Rozier. They have so many really good guards. So he's playing for the Greensboro Swarm right now. So he's definitely, and now he's playing better in the NBA. So I think it's super smart from that position. But talking about all of these rookies, bench players, and all the big players, we can move on to our big, like extremely big topic of the day, All-Star Weekend. So last time we met, we talked about the 3rd returns for the All-Star game, and now we have all of everything. We had the Rising Stars, a brand new format. We have the dunk contest announced. 3-point and skills challenge are to be determined. We'll talk about that in our next podcast. And then the rosters are all announced for the 71st NBA All-Star game in Cleveland. And I think we can just start off with the small ones and go to the big ones. But I think we can start off with the dunk contest just because I think there's a lot to say in that. So just for a little recap on that, we have 4 contestants this year: Jalen Green, Cole Anthony, Obi Toppin, who did go last year. I don't remember. I think he did not win the dunk contest, but Juan Toscano Anderson, they are the dunk contest participants. So I think I can start off. I mean, I haven't watched a lot of other teams than the Raptors. I mean, I'm being so biased right now, but I've seen highlights. Jalen Green has had really nasty dunks, and he almost had like the poster of the year last night or 2 nights ago against the Spurs, and that was like insane. But Obi Toppin has had some pretty cool dunks. Cole Anthony too. So I mean, I think it's cool, but I think they're kind of doing it so none of the dunk contestants are like all stars, so they can like bring more people in, so it's not like one sided. It's because I think that if it was, I think John Morant would have easily made that. I mean, you've seen him, like I think also like his defense would also make a big impact because his blocking. I mean, that block against the Lakers was like, I don't even understand. So I think that
got up so high.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think they did great of putting like 2 guards in it because obviously guards don't dunk too often. And Toscano has had, so I think it's okay, but I definitely think that there's a lot of people who would want John Morant and other guys to make it even better.
Yeah. In my opinion, here's what I would like to do. Here's what in my opinion, what they should do. They should just take like who won in the past. So I think Hamidou Diallo, Donovan Mitchell, I don't even remember who else won.
Like
I know those two guys.
the Simmons guy from the Blazers last year.
Oh yeah, and Freddie Simons. Well, I don't know. Last year's dunk contest was kind of bad. Maybe like Zach LaVine and Aaron. I don't know, whoever. But they should just get like 4 dunk contest champions and have them do it as like a
Yeah.
championship format
And
to see.
and all those players but Levine and Mitchell are all-stars this year. So that would be kind of fun. And I think hopefully Simmons can kind of show that last year wasn't just like a, ticket to win. I think he can like actually show that he's capable. Um, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I think we can go on with speaking of Jalen Green. We have the Rising Stars game, and this year it's definitely going to be much different, in my opinion, more competitive. So there's a brand new format. There is a 4-team bracket, and the winners play each other and the losers play each other. So I'll give the rosters. So we have Team Barry. So Rick Barry is the head coach. We have Cade Cunningham, Dyson Daniels, Yvonne Mobley, Isaac Okoro, Alperen Sengun, Jason Tate, Franz Wagner. Team Isaiah. So it's Team Isaiah Thomas. We have Precious Achoa, Desmond Bain, Sadiq Bey, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Jaden Hardy, and Isaiah Stewart. And then Team Peyton, we have LaMelo Ball, Scotty Barnes, Ayo Dosunmu, Chris Duarte, Scoot Henderson, Jaden McDaniels, and Devion Mitchell. And then we have Team Worthy with Cole Anthony, Marjan Bitchamp, Josh Giddey, Jalen Green, Herbert Jones, Tyrese Maxey, and Jalen Suggs. So obviously all 4 of these teams are really good because they have good rookies. But it's Team Isaiah versus Team Worthy, and then Team Barry versus Team Payne. So we have, I guess you can say, Precious Achoa's team against Cole Anthony's team, and then we have Cade Cunningham's team versus LaMelo's team. So honestly, I'm looking out for Team Barry versus Team Payne. I think it's going to be a really good game. But all these teams are super good, and I think that's going to make it even better instead of doing like America versus the world. So it's that I think it's going to bring a more competitive mindset to the Rising Stars game because, I mean, before I'll be completely honest. I'm sorry, Omel, that you're watching this, but I never really watched the Rising Stars game. I'll be honest. I watched the one in Charlotte because I was visiting Charlotte. So I actually went to the Rising Stars game in 2019. I didn't go to the All-Star game because my parents would be broke. But the Rising, I mean, it's actually really fun. I mean, I think that the whole USA versus the world, I mean, I understand that the whole NBA has players from the world, but USA obviously is better because of all their talent. So I think it's definitely going to be really fun this year. And yeah, what's your opinion? I didn't really like give you a chance.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think I like the new format. I just hope if they try, I think it can be very, very good. Like I'm looking forward to what I'm looking forward to is because it's gonna be single elimination, I would assume. So I think that the 2 best teams are easily Team Isaiah and Team Barry because you have Cade Cunningham and Evan Mobley in the same team, right? The 2 leaders for Rookie of the Year right now. And then
And
Team
Franz
Isaiah
Wagner. Yeah.
and Franz Wagner actually. So 3 in the top 5. And then Team Isaiah, you have Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, who's having a great year, and Desmond Bain, who's having a great year. So those 2 teams are just really, really star-studded, and I think that they'll win their 2 games, and then when they play in the final, I think that could be a really good game.
You're not even gonna mention Precious Achoa.
And Precious Achiuwa, he's what's going to take them over the edge. I can't. He's the Raptors' bright spot.
Yeah, but in my opinion, I think it's gonna be Team Peyton versus Team Isaiah. I mean, I think it's gonna be super tight. You have Cade Cunningham, you have Evan Mobley, you have Franz Wagner, Isaac Okoro played pretty good for the Cavs, but other guys, I think they're all from the G League. Those 3 guys, except for Jason Tate, I don't think he is there, and Franz Wagner, obviously. But Team Payne has LaMelo and Scotty Barnes, who LaMelo, there's a lot of talk that he got snubbed. I'll say why. But Scotty Barnes is in the race for Rookie of the Year. He's definitely top 3. Chris Duarte is surprised us all. Davion Mitchell surprised us early in the season. Jaden McDaniels is obviously the brother of the other guy who plays for the Hornets. I forgot
The
his
other
name.
guy.
Yeah, I think it's Jalen McDaniels, but apologies. But I think it's gonna be a try hard sort of game. I think. I mean, everybody has their own opinions. In my opinion, I think that when people actually try, more people want to watch, because if you're just gonna watch people do like 360 dunks and just like have fun, that's more for the dunk contest, and that's like a separate area of it. But I think like having the games where you have the best, I guess in this case, rookies of the league, like and the rookies and sophomores, I think it's going to be so much fun. Um, and also the thing that's good for the All-Star game and I think it's more for the Rising Stars game because the guys are younger, but there's less team chemistry. And that would be actually kind of cool because I'm not a big college basketball fan, but it would be cool if some of these guys played in college basketball together. Like I mean, in the NBA, it's RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish, but I think it would be super cool.
It's like to reunite almost in this game with
Right,
who they
right.
played. And then
Yeah.
I think that it's yeah, I don't know. Do they get is there like a prize or money for winning this? Because I know for the All-Star game, obviously there's a whole all the charity donations.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a charity thing, but don't listen to me. I don't believe so, but I wouldn't be surprised because actually there's this celebrity game, but I don't really know what's going on there. Um,
We should be in
yeah,
a celebrity game.
we should be in the celebrity game. We're celebrities, so like why not? And
Yeah,
also, and also we had guys. I didn't tell you guys this, but I have a goal. So, Akimich, you're not gonna believe it, but I'm gonna do it, I promise. So tomorrow I'm going to the game, right? I'm sitting second row, so I'm sitting right next to the court. My goal is either before the game or after the game, go on the court. Actually, I obviously get allowed by like the guard, and ask an NBA player to be a part of the podcast. They won't agree because we have 35 subs and we're just starting, but that's my goal, and preferably and OG Anunoby because he actually knows me. So actually, he probably forgot about me, but like I met him once. So yeah, but I think speaking of
Can I
the
just say
rap,
one more thing about this?
of course, yeah.
Yeah. So one final thing about this. Okay, of the team that which team did you pick to win the tournament?
I honestly do not have a team to win the tournament, but I think that it would be like Team Peyton versus Team Isaiah. I think Team Isaiah would win it because they have so many good. They have Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Preston Choa, who's going to be probably their center. Desmond Bain will be their forward. Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart. Hopefully, he doesn't get ejected and thrown out of the stadium. But, but we don't need any fights on the Rising Stars night. But I don't know. It's super tough because I mean, obviously, Team Isaiah has more talent, but Team Payne, I mean, LaMelo Ball is probably the best player out of most of these people, other than maybe Anthony Edwards. I think it's kind of close between them and Scotty Barnes, obviously.
Oh
But
yeah,
he actually is good. But no,
I
I think
know, I know.
LaMelo. No, Lamelo is better. Lamelo is probably it's between like Lamelo, maybe Kate Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, something like that. But I think it's super close.
And
I'll definitely watch it for sure.
and so okay, I guess I'll go first for mine. So I think that Team Barry will win it all, and then I'm just picking my all-star like I guess rookie, not all-star, Rising Stars MVP is probably going to be Cade Cunningham. That's my prediction.
That's so like okay. I think you know Team Payton and Scotty Barnes. No kidding. It, but that's kind of hard. If Team Payton wins, I think Melo will probably win it. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm non-biased at all. But if like Scotty Barnes or Chris Duarte wins it, because we've seen them have big games. But obviously you never know what could happen in the All-Star game and the Rising Stars game. We had Kyle Kuzma win it for God's sake. He's actually playing well now, but I don't know. I think if Team Barry would win it, then Cade Cunningham. But it was like what year? I think it was 2019 where I kind of expected like Luka to get it or Trae Young, but then you had Kyle Kuzma take it. So it's a big opportunity because it's not like you're playing against LeBron or Curry and like you're playing against the best rising. It's like let's just like kind of look at high school, like the best 2024 recruits or something like that, So it's kind of like that. Um, but it's super exciting. And I think moving on, to the big leagues, we have the NBA All-Star game in Cleveland, the birthplace of Jake Paul. No, no kidding. But the rosters are all announced. We have some big snubs according to ESPN. Are they actually snubs? We'll answer that question. But I think I'll talk about all the rosters, just like give a list of everything. I'm sure you know everything, but just to kind of remind you, let's start with the starters. So for the Western Conference, we have Steph Curry, LeBron, Andrew Wiggins, Sean Morant, and Nikola Jokic. We have LeBron as the team captain again, and it's going to be lopsided. But the East, we have DeMar DeRozan, Trae Young, Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So actually, I think we can just start off with the starters. Like, I think I can start off. I mean, everything looks pretty straightforward. People are kind of doubting Andrew Wiggins, but I think he definitely deserves it. He's playing super well with the Warriors. He's impacting them, especially when Curry's not playing well. Curry, hey LeBron. I mean, it's gonna be like until they retire that they won't be all-star starters. Sean Morant's having a great year. I mean, definitely the best of his career. Nikola Jokic is, under their average season, just 26 points, 15 rebounds. That's just his usual stuff. But for the East, DeMar and Trae are playing super well, even though Trae's team is like, I mean, his team's not doing bad at all. But Trae Young is definitely playing super well. Joel's playing well. Kevin Durant is injured, so he's out. So maybe one of these snubs from the All-Star game can go in. And then we have Giannis. I don't like him, but because he won the championship. But for me, I agree with everything. I don't think there's anybody that got left out. I mean, obviously now looking at the All-Star reserves, I don't think there's anybody that got left out. Other than maybe the Phoenix Suns, there were so many people that talked about like, hey, Devin Booker instead of Andrew Wiggins. But I mean, Devin Booker is playing better, but I think that it kind of feels like you have three guards on the court, and I think that's kind of like unfair. So I think you need to and also Paul George is injured and Kawhi is injured. So it may look different, but they're injured. So you can't really change anything about that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it's all pretty good. Andrew Wiggins is the only guy that you can really choose to, I guess, kick down to not All-Star, but I guess All-Star reserve. But there's not really anybody you really want to put over him. Maybe Luka or Devin Booker. But I think it's whatever. I think he deserves it because the Warriors have been so good. He's having a great year, considering he's only the second option, not the first. So I think it's just good for him.
Yeah. So I think now I can introduce the All-Star reserves. So first we have Draymond Green. He is injured, so he will not be playing. He said it on the All-Star announcement. We have Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, so two All-Stars for Utah, Luka, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul, and then we have Karl Anthony Towns. And then for the East, we have Darius Garland, James Harden, Jason Tatum, Chris Middleton, Zach LaVine, Jimmy Butler, and the one and only Freddie VanVleet. No, but my thoughts on it, I mean, everybody, you don't understand. The day after the draft, I went to my school and everyone's Hornets and they're like, Daniel, VanVleet does not deserve the All-Star. It's LaMelo over everybody. And no. So actually, guys, just giving a little bit of some background info. So I had a conversation with my dad in the car, an hour after the draft. And, we kind of talked about it, right? Does VanVleet deserve it more over LaMelo? And my dad barely watches the Raptors, so he has an unbiased opinion. So he said that LaMelo is a pure entertainer. I mean, you've seen it, his passes, his dunks, his layups. But VanVleet actually gets it done. VanVleet doesn't care about the trick shots. I don't think I've ever seen him do anything cool. He's just out there. He's trying to play, trying to get better. So I think definitely VanVleet with the work ethic, I think VanVleet has it over him. But I mean, overall, I think that the snubs are DeJounte Murray and Jaylen Brown, other than LaMelo. DeJounte Murray, I didn't see too much of him, but I heard that he's playing super well for the Spurs, even though the Spurs suck. But Draymond Green, I mean, he actually played well while he wasn't injured, but now he's obviously injured. Luca, Booker, Paul, Towns. I mean, it's all straightforward. I think every single one of them deserves it. I mean, you saw on the list, Klay Thompson was really high on there. We had Paul George who was high in there. I mean, Klay Thompson, I mean, he literally only played like 3 weeks, so I think they made a good decision of not putting him in the All-Star game. For the East, um, also, I mean, Chris Middleton, I didn't see too much of him, or actually, that's pretty much it. But from the All-Star list, we had Jared Allen, who's super high, who didn't make it in there, and I'm actually surprised. I thought he made it, but he didn't. But Darius Garland highly deserves it. He's had it. His team is so good now because of him. James Harden, I mean, I guess he's like All-Star worthy, but like, I mean, his team's doing terrible right now. But
Well,
Jason
he's also been
Tatum,
out for a few games. He's been like
that's
in and out of
true.
the lineup too.
Yeah, that's true. And then obviously Levine deserves it because he's definitely one of the best on the Bulls, and the Bulls are one of the highest and best teams in the East.
Is Levine gonna play, or is he still?
Oh no, he's playing. Yeah, he came back from his injury about like 10 days ago, and he said that he had back spasms. Like right after the game versus the Raptors, actually, he said that he had back spasms and he was playing through them. So honestly, like looking at how the Bulls are doing, I think he needs to just take a break. They just not. I'm not saying focus on the All-Star game, but you know what I mean. Like just like kind of recover, because at this point your team's doing well. You have nothing to worry about. Just take it easy. Recover. Go have fun at the All-Star game, and then so on. So, and I think it's the same format as last year. And they did make a new Kobe Bryant trophy, which is super cool. So going to like KD and Draymond Green, who are not coming, I think, the guys who weren't there, like, the snubs could be there, but you never know. So what do you think?
Ooh. Fred VanVleet does not. No, I'm kidding. Fred VanVleet deserves it. He should be. I think the only person that you can really take out of all of these guys, only guy is Chris Middleton, just because like how close. Okay, I'm just gonna read out the stats of Chris Middleton, LaMelo Ball, and DeJounte Murray. I won't tell you who's who, and you have to guess. Okay, so one guy is averaging 19.6 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, 7.5 assists. Okay, another guy is averaging 19.6. That was LaMelo, but anyway, next guy is averaging 19.6 points, 8.4 rebounds, 9.2 assists. Okay, and then another guy is averaging 19.5 points, 5.6 rebounds, 5.3 assists. They're literally so close.
Oh my god, I don't know. Is Chris Middleton the 19.6?
Yeah, Chris Middleton is the 19.5, and DeJounte Murray is the 19.6.
Okay, that's like awfully close.
So I mean, it's just
but
so
but
close
but again, Chris Middleton is a forward.
That's true. I mean, I don't even think the NBA should do it like where you have to have a certain number of forwards and a certain number of guards.
I think that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it's just limit. Like they're all so close. LaMelo, DeJounte Murray, and Middleton are also close. And again, it goes back to even like, are we going to take the team record, or are we going to take the player stats? Or because DeJounte Murray has better stats all around than both LaMelo and Chris Middleton, but his record is way worse than both. So it's like, which one do you pick? Do you like take a combination? I don't even know.
Right. Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I think they need to kind of like switch up the forward and guards thing. I mean, obviously you can't have like 10 point guards on the floor and have like no and have like no forwards, do like a guards only All-Star game. But I think they definitely need to like see who's more deserving than everybody else. But I think, yeah, I kind of think it's kind of straightforward, except for like Middleton, obviously, like Middleton and LaMelo, like that's so close. But and Miles Bridges. I mean, I saw an interview of James Borrego, who's the head coach of the Hornets, and he said like it's super disappointing that both of them weren't selected. and he kind of said like I think it's related to like for me with like Siakam, like you're not selected, you're mad. Just go out there and play and show everybody why and prove everybody that you deserve to be there. So far, Siakam has. He's gone 25, 30. He got like 20. He got like 8, not 20 in the first quarter against Atlanta. Um,
Wow.
and then Romelo had like 11 points last night. Miles Bridges had 4 points against the Hawks or something. So like, no, they haven't proved it yet. But there's always tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I'm excited. I'm gonna be screaming. So we'll see if they can overcome. You know, hopefully we have some
Yeah.
Raptors fans.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think like it sucks that LaMelo and Miles Bridges didn't make it. It sucks that Anthony Edwards didn't make it. I mean, what they could do if they really wanted. I mean, I know it'll never happen. I personally don't think it should happen. But if they really want to get more guys in from more teams, they could just not have like multiple players from each team be all like. You don't need Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins. You don't need DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. You don't need Devin Booker and Chris Paul. Like you could take one of those guys out and give it to someone else. But I don't think it should be done. But if you want to get more guys in, because like at least this year, a lot of the teams have two All Stars, which is pretty interesting, right? We have the Bucks do, the Suns do, the Warriors do.
Yeah, I mean, like the All-Star rosters look pretty good. Now we have to worry about the draft. And we know how that went last year. We know how that went last year. Last year we had the starting lineups of Curry, LeBron, Jokic, Giannis, and Luka. And then the other team was like Kyrie Irving, James Harden, like Jason Tatum. It was terrible. But Kevin Durant, he has to like do something about it. The draft is this Thursday. You have to go to the board. You have to choose good players. I mean, obviously they're all good, but you have to choose a good roster. Don't have Steph, LeBron, Jokic. If it's Steph, Ja, LeBron, Jokic, and Giannis on the same team, I'm not watching. I'm not watching the All-Star game. But Kevin Durant has to like literally choose wisely or else like everyone's gonna hate you. Like we need an entertain All-Star game, not your buddies from like Africa or something like that, like or from wherever. Like,
But
so
yeah, he doesn't like have like I feel like he doesn't have to choose to take James Harden in the second round. Like, okay, yeah, they're teammates, it's great, but like you could take someone else if you want. It doesn't have to be him, right?
yeah. And like LeBron, like luckily Anthony Davis isn't playing, so LeBron just like doesn't have any bias. He just like chooses the best players. Like, but Kevin Durant just chooses like. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if James Harden's there, but like, come on, like choose at least Giannis. I would be happy if it's like Kevin Durant, Giannis. Wait. Last year it was okay. Yeah, KD. I mean, actually, obviously last year Joel Embiid didn't play, but he was supposed to be on like Team Durant also. So maybe, but like I like if it's like I mean not KD anymore, but like Giannis, Joel, or like LeBron, Joel, like Ja, and like Luka, or whoever comes to the starting lineup. And last year Zion was a starter, for God's sake. That guy is like obese and doesn't even play in the league anymore. So
Wait, was he actually a starter?
yeah.
He was a starter last year? Oh my god, wow. It's crazy how things can change so quickly. Like he went from being that to now he hasn't even stepped foot in the league yet. I don't even see him in games, like on the bench. Like, I think we're gonna go off a little bit. I think Zion wants out of the Pelicans, and he's just holding out until he can leave.
Yeah, I don't know because I watched that like Mountain Dew commercial. Zach LaVine, he looked awfully fat. Maybe he's
Yeah,
on the maybe he's on the James Harden diet. You never know.
I mean, because like he hasn't even. I don't even know what like training he might be doing with the team, or if he's still injured, or what's going on.
Oh, and
And
also with the trades, we have the trade deadline coming up. Like, there's gonna be a lot of talk about that because we have talks about James Harden leaving Brooklyn to go to.
forgot about that. Yeah, to go to Philly, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think we have to speculate too much because like I haven't seen a lot of rumors, but just to kind of give a note on that, like we have the trade deadline coming up too. So definitely it's gonna be like really crazy because I've seen so many like mock trades. And so if Toronto does what they did last year, I'm going to cry. So because we're a good team, we don't need Norman Powell to leave. I mean, at least Gary Trent is now doing good and he's better than Norman Powell. But like, we don't need to like get rid of like Siakam or something like that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think the Raptors need to really trade anymore. They should just let the season keep going because they're
Yeah,
good. They have Scotty Barnes who's developing well. They have young
I
players.
would, I would, I will, I wouldn't be mad because like if you look at their past 5 games, you have the starters who play so much, and then you have like Delonto Banton and Chris Boucher, who are the only guys who play off the bench. So maybe trading those like reserves who don't play. I think trade Kem Birch. He had a big injury with his face, I think or a broken nose, and he had big surgery. So he's playing mad now, and then you have like all these guys like who don't play at all. I think the Raptors just like trade them for like decent players, and then you can have like a really good lineup as well. And then
Or
Justin
even they
Shem,
could just, or they could even just call some guys up from the G League because the Raptors are really like the best development team in the league. They could just get some, like they did that for Fred VanVleet. They called him up from the G League and he started playing and playing and playing and became better and better. They should just do that again, honestly.
that'd be kind of smart. Yeah,
Yeah, I they don't really need to shake anything up. If the Nets trade James Harden to the Sixers, I'll be like for Ben Simmons too. I'm just gonna be like, oh
that would
my
be
god.
hilarious if they do that. I will laugh so hard.
Because I remember the Rockets originally they were like the Sixers could have traded Ben Simmons to the Rockets for James Harden, but they decided not to do that, and now they're gonna just do that same deal again later.
Yeah. Mm. Well, all right, guys. That's gonna probably end up the podcast. Definitely a wrong podcast, but definitely I hope you guys enjoyed it. On YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like the video, download the podcast on Spotify and all the platforms. And yeah, guys, with that being said, me and Akam will see you guys next time.